It was about, I don't know, 12:30 last night. I saw Brian Mitchell in the tunnel of Paycor Stadium, and he just smiled this big smile and said, "We got a quarterback, boy." Good morning, B. How do you do?
What up, Jay? How you doing, brother?
Oh, man. I've gotten about 1 million texts from people trying to describe what happened last night. And B, I asked Jayden if he was surprised by the level of success, and I think he gave such a good, honest answer that he said yes and no. I've never done this before, so on some level, it's surprising when we have this level of success.
Mm-hmm.
But I put the work in and prepare myself to do this at such a level that I know that I can. And I love that answer so much, and I think it's so damn accurate about everything we saw last night.
Well, I think the whole thing about it is, there's no guarantee that you're going to have the success when you put in the work, but you damn well won't have it if you don't put in the work. So,
right.
And the thing about it, like everyone was looking at, oh, look at Monday night, they got a full crowd. He played in front of 105,000 at LSU. Okay. He went to a lot of SEC stadiums that had 79 and 80 and 90,000. There was 62,000 last night. That's not much for him.
We said it over and over again. I mean, the kid last year took the LSU Tigers into Tuscaloosa for an 8:00 game. Yeah. That was significantly louder than the Bengals game was last night.
Oh, yeah.
What a area of concern I did have going into the game anyway was if they get down early, you don't want him to feel like he has to press, right?
He went right down and got a score.
Well, the Bengals scored immediately.
Yes.
Yeah. The Bengals went 6 plays, 71 yards, touchdown. Jamar Chase, 41 yards, boom.
Yeah.
And in that moment, you're like, oh, okay, this could get intense. But no, they got the ball back, 10 plays, 70 yards. B-Rob punches it in from the 1, tie game.
Yep.
And what I have said throughout, and I've said this on air and off, is when the actual players are on the field, you don't know what's going to happen. And I thought Jayden was the right pick at number 2 all along. I think it's only 3 games in, but I wonder how Chicago feels right now. But regardless, for Washington, I thought Jayden was the pick all along. I thought his athletic skill, the accuracy, the way he can win from the pocket and dissect you with his legs.
Mm-hmm.
But you still never know what's going to happen until these guys get on the field. But what did change for me is since he was drafted in late April through the end of training camp, I'm not going to pretend I know him well, but I've now spent enough time with him. I've asked him questions. I've seen him interact in the locker room with his teammates, with fans at camp and at games. Like, you start to spend enough time around a person. And Brian, what I told anybody that would listen is I don't know what happens on the field, but I know he's absolutely the right dude to lead a team and to put the work in and to put them in a position to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel more confident in that than maybe ever.
Well, yeah, I think when you watched that game last night, from the precision passing to the
precise,
from the unbelievable playmaking ability when they needed a first down, and he had the ball in his hand, they got it. When he had to make a decision, a smart decision to get the ball to the right guy, he did it. He slid last night, people, so he does know how to slide. So I don't want to hear that crap any damn more. But he also showed you he knows, like, the subtleness that he has when he's about to take a hit. When you see a person, it's totally different than when they hit you, like in the pocket. Because the touchdown pass he threw to Terry, he got hit.
Rocked.
He got rocked. And I think that was the hardest hit he took the whole night. But he has a subtle way of just turning just a little bit to where they don't hit him full on. But the dude makes plays. He throws the ball where it needs to be. But we watched him, and I think it was it Tan? I don't know if it was Tanner or Brian last night. They asked Luke, he said, man, he doesn't mind getting on people, does he? If you're a veteran or not, if you make a mistake, he's going to let you know about it. But he does it in like a respectful way, but a way where I need you to do better. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So and young people, some young people like to wait till someone let them know that they're a leader. No, if you're a leader, you're a leader. And that dude has been a leader since he stepped in the building.
B, I think we don't know how good the Bengals defense is, and maybe they stink, but to go to their place on Monday night when everybody prior to that game was like, man, the Bengals are still a Super Bowl contender. Once they win this game, they'll get hot and get going. So,
who they?
Yeah, they are who they are at this point.
They were playing that late in the game when they were down by 5 and we're getting the ball back. They got on my nerves a little bit. Who they think gonna beat them Bengals?
Yeah,
the Saints came up with who that first.
Yeah,
that's a copy.
That whole thing is bizarre. And frankly, I just choose, I am sure the information of how Cincy does the same thing New Orleans does is readily available. I just don't care. Here's what really stood out to me, B. So the Bengals score early in the third quarter to make it 28-20. So all of a sudden, what had been a 2-score game is a 1-score game.
Yeah.
And then Washington gets a drive, and they put it together pretty well. But it's the only time in this game they get held to 3. Now, they took a lot of time off the clock. 12 plays to go 46 yards, 6.5 minutes.
Oh, every time they got the ball, they took time off the clock.
But you wondered in that moment, okay, now it's an 11-point lead. It's still 2 scores, but that's the first time they haven't been able to score a touchdown. And the way offensively the Bengals were moving the ball, you're like, all right, this introduces a little bit of nerves into the scenario. Sure enough, Bengals march down the field, 5 plays, 70 yards, 1:48 to make it 31-26. They had a decision to make there. They go for 2. They don't get it. Jeremy Chin breaks up the pass in the back of the end zone. The Bengals crowd screaming for interference. I thought it was just a really solid hit. Maybe it was their hair early, but I'm glad they didn't call it.
But the referees have been horrible all year. They were horrible against us. They're going to be horrible against somebody else sometimes.
So then all of a sudden, it's not only a 1-score game, but 1 score gives them the lead. It's 31-26. It's the first time the Bengals have really been sniffing at the lead. And the way they just went down the field, you're like, oh, man, if they get another chance, this thing's going to go really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So what happens? Daniels gets the ball. Offense gets the ball. We're now deep into the fourth quarter, okay? And there's some thought if they get a field goal that makes it 8, the Bengals are still in this thing. And the drive starts terribly.
Yeah, what a penalty.
2 for 50 minutes of this game. For 50 minutes of this game. And no penalty.
The stat popped up on the phone. I showed it to Santana. And then bang, bang, 2 penalties.
I want to go play-by-play on this because the absolute stones from Jayden Daniels and from the offense as a whole, the absolute stones required for this drive in that scenario are so damn impressive. So, 1st and 10 from the 30, bang, penalty on Zach Ertz. False start, 5 yards, okay? Now we're at 1st and 15. Daniels connects with Ertz for 4 yards. He fumbles.
Yeah.
He fumbled the damn ball.
Yeah.
And Allegretti jumped on it. Okay, so the amount of deep breaths required right now are pretty significant. 2nd and 9, Daniels connects with Ertz again. At this point, Ertz and Daniels realized that on this little option route, every time Ertz would break in, he was wide open. And it was 8 to 12 yards whenever they needed it, right?
Yep.
There's a number of storylines that were destroyed in the process of this game. We'll get to the storyline graveyard earlier. So they pick up the first down, 1st and 10 from the 43. B-Rob, 6-yard gain. Now the clock is really starting to tick. Things are starting to work here. 2nd and 4, Daniels is a little quick 2-yard gain. I don't even know if that was a design run. 3rd and 2. This was a huge, huge conversion. 3rd and 2 at about midfield. Jayden finds Terry for 4 yards. Obviously, there are bigger plays to Terry, but those two connecting on a huge 3rd down, that is growth, man. That is, things are really starting to happen. All right, so now it looks like they're going downhill. It looks like things are improving. 1st and 10 from the 45. Bang, false start on De'Ami Brown, of all people, your receiver going early. 1st and 15 from the 50. Daniels takes a sack. Trey Hendrickson finally gets involved, beats Brandon Coleman to the inside. BMitch, you're now looking at 2nd and 20.
Yeah.
2nd and 20. You go Daniels to De'Ami for 8. Daniels to De'Ami again for 8. 4th and 4. I thought the call was the right decision all along. 4th and 4 from the Bengals 39. If you try to kick that, You're talking about a 56-yarder in, that it was kind of wet, humid air throughout the night. If you make it, you're only up 8, and that's a 1-score game. If you miss it, you're giving them the ball at the Washington 44. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And your defense hasn't stopped them all night. So, like,
yeah, that's a discussion.
That's a conversation to have.
Yeah,
we got 4 hours. Right now is the good stuff. I love the decision there, and there didn't seem to be much wavering, much waffling on going for it. And like I mentioned previously, Zach Ertz on that in-breaking option route could get what he wanted, what he needed. And sure enough, Daniels finds Ertz for 9 yards, first down from the Cincinnati 30. And at this point, the clock's all the way down to 3:43.
Oh, yeah. I was looking at the clock more than I was looking at the play on the field, to be honest with you.
Sure. Because I kept wondering, okay, if they could get this under the 2-minute drill, they might not have to give the ball back at all. And the final just finishes, they're able to just clock it. That doesn't end up happening. So you get 1st and 10 from the 30. Brian Robinson, little 1-yard gain, but at this point, they're just trying to bleed the clock.
Yeah.
They run B-Rob again. I couldn't help but notice, Brian, late in this game when they really needed it, all these runs were between Biotish and Wiley, with Cosme in the middle of it. You could see which side they thought they could really count on more. And I don't think they were wrong for that assessment either. Biotish is so damn good, by the way.
He is good.
So now this was a little concerning. Going to 3rd down, Washington calls a timeout, because if they can get the first down here, you're in business, and you got to pass this thing because you're kicking regardless. Like, you were firmly in, let's pick up this first down and win the game territory. Jayden, they come to the line of scrimmage, and it's a mess. Do you remember that, Brian?
Yeah.
Like, coming out of a timeout in this
they
kind
had
of
about
moment,
7 seconds left on the clock.
I mean, I understand they were trying to bleed the clock, but damn, they got really close to a procedural thing there. And you know what? It doesn't freaking matter. Jayden identified cover 0. He identified Terry one-on-one on the outside. Throws just an absolute dime. I mean, just an
I'm going to take you back. Miami. They were throwing the ball in the trash can.
Yeah.
Who made it? Twice. Jayden. Nobody else hit it. That's the pass he threw right there.
Dude, I mean, that throw from where were you? Maybe you were down on the field at that point. I was still up in the press box, and it was kind of to the opposite corner from where we were sitting. And you see the loft on it. And I think, everybody's kind of reacting in the moment. And I think some folks were like, oh, he's just throwing it away. And I was like, I don't think so. Because the way that ball was lofted, you could tell it was coming into the corner of the back right of that end zone.
Mm-hmm.
And then as you're watching, you could see Terry has a little bit of a step. And when they get to that end zone, and, from where my vantage point, and I'm not looking at the TV replay, I'm looking in person live, and you see Terry come down and pop up holding that ball, and then you see the ref throw his hands up, signal touchdown. And, of course, you got to wonder if all the feet got in. You got to watch the replay eventually. Stadium just went silent.
One foot came down, then the knee. When the knee hits, ball game over. That's touchdown.
Ball game over.
Yep.
I mean, that play, that throw, all of it was just so impressive. This whole game for Jayden. I mean, dude.
91.3% completion ratio.
Unheard of. I mean, some of the statistical things that are coming out are just unheard of.
Yeah.
I tweeted a bunch of these out last night. Shout out to Charlie Muley with the Skins PR. He does a great job of at least sending some like interesting stats and facts along after the game. I mean, they scored 21 points in the first half, B. That's the most in the first half since 2018. They had 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half. That's the first time they've had 3 rushing touchdowns in the first half since you were playing for them.
Wow.
That was the 99 team. Hell, I wonder if you got one of them. I know Terry was like a touchdown machine back then, but I wouldn't be shocked if you had one of them. All right, listen to this, and for like, I know we got a lot of listeners that span a lot of ages, right? But for our young listeners, for my man Jeff, try to understand the scope of this. Okay, try to understand the size, the magnitude of this. B, you already said it. Jayden Daniels completed 21 of 23 passes for a 91.3% completion percentage. That's the highest completion percentage by a rookie in a single game ever in NFL history. Yeah. Ever.
He had more touchdowns than he did incompletions. Think about that. He had more touchdowns than incompletions yesterday.
As far as Washington history, that's the highest completion percentage for a game ever. They've been playing football. This organization has been playing football since 1932.
100 years.
Sonny Jurgensen. Like highest completion percentage ever. And dude, this was not, you remember there were a couple games there where like Mark Brunell threw it underneath like 11 straight times and broke a record, or John Beck threw it to Roy Halou in Toronto like 17 times and broke a record. This wasn't that. This was not dink and dunk. This was down the field. I mean, that's another storyline graveyard. And then they don't have any depth to the offense.
The two incompletions yesterday. The one that Terry, that I think he expected Terry to go straight up. Terry broke it off, but he was getting hit. He was getting pressure, so he had to let it go. The other one to Terry that was out of bounds, he was throwing the ball away, basically.
Yeah.
So what if he had a little bit more time on those? Maybe he goes 23 of 23.
I mean,
just think about it though, because Terry broke more like a flatter post route, and I think Jayden was expecting him to go up the field, but he was wide ass open. He was wide open on that one.
One more, and I think Jayden is at the front of the compliment here, but I think you got to talk Cliff Kingsbury. You got to talk about this O-line. You got to talk about this run game. You got to talk about these wideouts, these tight ends, all of it. Washington is the first team in the Super Bowl era to have back-to-back games with 0 turnovers and 0 punts. B, they've been playing the Super Bowl for 54, 55 years.
Yeah, I called Tress and left him a message. He'll probably call me when he land. I said, look, bro, you got to stop all this freeload, man. I mean, 2 damn games you haven't punted yet. What the hell is going on with you?
B, do you know what Tress did last night?
Probably just went inside, changed clothes, kept moving.
No, I'm going to send you the video. I got to post it. I came over to talk to him, and so he was like about to get in the shower. I was like, yo, I want to talk to you for TV if you're cool with it. He's like, yeah, just come back whenever. So I was like, all right. And we're kind of bouncing around talking to all the other guys in the locker room. And finally I look at him and he's dressed and he's standing there. I'm like, oh, Kerwin, let's go talk to Trice. We go over there and he's holding this big bag of ice. And I'm like, what's the ice for? He's like, oh man, my hands are just so sore
from holding.
And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, yeah, my upper latimus, my lower, like all these. And I was like, wait, are you sore from holding the ball so much? He's like, yeah, with this offense, I really got to take care of my hands.
Hell, let's just think about it. With the kid York, how many points did he have? 90-something extra points.
Oh, at LSU
in 1 year,
dude. Yeah. Oh, dude. Listen, the high the Commanders fans are on right now is so unbelievable. This just feels very, very different to me.